That video is very short. You know, I'm usually ready to go. I'm up here and got some time into me, but guys, what you see there in that video is that it's actually in rewind. It's going backwards, and that's what the kind of the basis of this is, that RE. So we're starting this series called Re, and we talk about the different things that Re goes in front of. It's remember and repentance, and there's just these different things, and some of us don't really know what Re is. We don't know what that means, what that represents, and Re in the English dictionary means back or again. So Re, like when we say remember, it's to look back, to or again, to do it over, or whatever it is. So that's what Re is. Today we're going to be looking back. We're going to be in remember. We're going to talk about that. And next week we're going to talk about repentance. But this week we're talking about remembering, and remembering where you came from and what the difference is. Remembering is important to God. It's one of those critical things that we don't really, we take for complete granted all the time. Remembering in Joshua 4:9, he's told to go out and he's told to put stones out to remember where the Ark of the Covenant was. In Luke 22, he tells us at the Lord's Supper, he says, remember me. Remember what's happened here. These are commandments that he's given to us. It's critical that we remember what he has said. But as people, we have this natural desire. We have this natural desire to remember. We want to remember birthdays, and we want to remember appointments, and we want to remember things all the time. As guys, we tend to forget stuff. We tend to forget our anniversaries, and we tend to forget, you get to February 14th comes around, everybody's going, hey, why is there flowers everywhere? As guys, and we go, oh, and somebody has to break the news to us. Don't be a dummy. You know what February 14th is. But we forget. It comes up, and we go, oh, I forgot that, or I forgot this. We want to remember the good times. Those are things that we always look at. I want to remember this, or I want to remember that. It's a tragedy that as we get older, we start to lose our memories. We start to lose everything. And it's a complete tragedy when you get to meet somebody that has Alzheimer's and they don't remember anything. They don't remember the person that's sitting in front of them. They don't remember anything that's going on. They just you just get to them and you just go, what has happened? What is going on? The essence of us, the person who we are, is built in our memories. That's who we are. That's how we make our decisions. That's how we go forward. It is based off what we remember. That's where our essence comes from. That's where we come from. That's how our values are delivered. And that's, guys, things that are important, it's because something happened that you remembered and it's been ingrained in your head. And that's the reason why you do it. So when we lose that, and we lose that ability, it is that complete, guys, there's all the time we go, I forgot stuff. This week, I forgot I had appointments on Tuesday that were just like stacked on top of each other and on top of and I ended up running late. On Tuesday, I had a meeting with another pastor, and then I had a meeting with, a radio station, I had a meeting with the TV advertiser, as we talk, but they all overlapped each other because I was like, I can do so much, not really remembering how much I love to talk, And that's really what happens is we get into these meetings, and I talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Never mind. Equally as tragic as people who forget spiritually where they have come from. It's just as tragic when we go through, and as we get saved, and we remember that day. We get baptized, we remember that day. We go through and we get these memories, and there's the things that are our highlights. We get saved, and so usually we fill out a connection card, and we've done something with it. We get baptized, we've invited family, everybody's here, and it's a joyous celebration. But then when we step away from faith, and we walk away, and we go back, and we forget those joyous moments that we've gone through. There's different things that pop up, or there's different things you look at it and go, what happened? Why is it that I missed out on this, or why is it that I missed this? Remembering God's faithfulness in the past is what we choose to forget all the time. We forget it. Dietrich Bonhoeffer is, and forgive me on the pronunciation, anyone who feels neither the responsibility towards the past nor the desire to shape the future is one who forgets. Guys, if you are perfectly content where you are at right now, if your life, you're looking at, man, this is amazing, this is perfect, you're going to forget everything that happened today because it's going to mean nothing. If you want to change your life, if you want to move forward, and you want things to be better, you want things to be different, if you want a positive life, then you're going to remember the mistakes that you've made, and you're going to remember the good things. You're going to remember, this is how I get there. I don't do this, and I do these things, and this is how I have this positive outlook. But we don't do that a lot of times. We forget. We go, I forgot to do this, or I forgot where this leads me. We go, it's one of those tragedies with a drug addict. You get to them and they go, I remember the good times about being high. Well, do you remember all the bad things about what was going on with it? You talk to them, I had a conversation with somebody. He was like, I like this. Do you remember, do you like stealing from your friends and your family? Do you like those are the things that we forget sometimes, but those are the things that stand out. Those are the things that we remember. We go back to it and we look and go, hey, look, the reason why I don't do this is because it led me here or it led me there. We have to remember. We have to go back to it. Remembering God's faithfulness from the past allows us to trust him in the future. When we look back at it, it allows us to trust God's, when we remember it. But a lot of times we don't. The Bible tells us, you may say to yourselves, these nations are stronger than we are. How can we drive them out? Do not be afraid of them. Remember what the Lord your God did to the Pharaoh in Egypt. You saw with your own eyes the great trials, the signs, the wonders, the mighty hand and the outstretched arm with which the Lord your God brought you out. The Lord your God will do the same to all the people you now fear. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now is that when Moses was saying that, when he was telling that to the scribe, he was on his deathbed. It was almost over. He was getting ready to hand off the torch to Joshua. But when you look at this and you look at what's going on, he tells them, do not forget what he has already done. He's like, make a record of this. Talk about it. Do not forget it because this is important. What God has already done, what makes you think that he's not going to do it coming up in the future? What God has done, he's delivered us from this. Well, we always go back and we always want to lean back on ourselves. We want to lean back and we want to go, I can do this. Instead of what God can do for us and how God can deliver us, we go, I can do this. We forget that God has already done so much for us. We forget what he's already delivered us from. We forget what he's brought us out of. What have you seen? What have you heard? What does your past consist of? And you look at it and go, these are the reasons why we have to remember what God has done for us. Because if you look at it, where was your life 5 years ago? Where was your life? You just have to start remembering what God can do and what he's already done. The second thing is it directs our actions in the future. But David said to Saul, your servant has been keeping your father's sheep. When a lion or bear came in and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it. I struck it. I rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord, who rescued me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, will rescue me from the hands of the Philistine. Guys, remember what's going on here now. David, this little guy, he was a runt. He was like the runt of the litter. This little dude. And at this point, he's not somebody who's special at the time. He is a servant. That's really what it comes down to. But he's gone out. And he's chased down a sheep, just like how Jesus does for us. But he's gone out and he's chased down one of his animals. And in the process, he had to kill a lion and a bear. Now, when you think about this, the challenge that's in front of you with this guy that's a monster or a giant that we look at, that's 3 times your size, you look at it and go, after I've already seen a lion and a bear, this is nothing. This is literally nothing. I can walk into this and take care. This is easy. Think about some of the things in your past. Think about some of the things that you've gone through, and you can look at and you can go, I've been through so much worse. It is so much easier to move forward. It is so much easier to go out of this and into something better because I've been through what you can already throw at me. Guys, What is it? What have you seen? What have you heard that helps direct where you're going? Where is your past going to take you? That's the reason why history is so important. We look at it and we go, because we know we don't want to repeat those same mistakes. We know we don't want to go back to that same stuff. We're going to talk about how do we remember? How do we remember things? You know, for guys, we go, okay, I got it, but we forget everything. We literally forget everything. I mean, we could be talking and then all of a sudden be like, hey, what were you just saying to me? That's just how we are. Women tend to retain information a lot better than guys. So as guys, we need to write it down. You know, women, you need to write it down too because there's all kinds of stuff. But really, we need to write it down. And it said to them, go over before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan, and each of us is to take up the stone on his shoulder according to the number of tribes of the Israelites to serve as a sign among you. You know, guys, when you don't write it down and you don't leave a history mark, so as they're taking these stones out, they're diverting the Jordan. They're doing this, but they leave the stones there as a sign. Remember what has already been here. Remember that the covenant of the ark of the Lord has been here. Remember it. Don't forget what's already happened. But leave yourself a note. So here's the recommendation. You get a journal. And as guys, we don't want journals. We don't want to go, I like Chrissy and Chrissy likes me. That's not the type of journal we're looking for. What we're looking for, the type of journal we're looking for is, this is how my day was. God did this for me, or God did that. And it needs to be a daily thing, a weekly thing at a minimum. But a daily, that way you can go back to it. And you can go back, you know what, I want to go look back at 1995. I want to look at how my life was then. And we can read through, go, man, things were really terrible. Man, look at how much better things are now. Look at where God has taken me, where God has delivered me. Instead of looking, because then it'll have the positives and the negatives. Instead of just going, hey, I want to remember all the negatives. Because that's what we do. When you think back to those times, unless a monumental thing happened, 1997, my daughter was born. I don't remember anything else of 1997. That's it. You know why? It's because I didn't write it down anywhere. And obviously nothing else important happened, but there was tremendous amount of things that have been in here, that have been, we get it in our mind, and it affects how we make our decisions towards the future. We need to be able to go back and review it and look at it and go, man, this is what happened. We need to be able to look at when God talked to us. We need to be able to look at it and go, man, God was really talking to me at this time. He was really telling me about this or that or whatever it was. But a lot of times, we only remember the monumental things, and everything else just kind of falls by the wayside. It just goes away. We remember, I got married this year, or this happened, or I got baptized that year, or I got this happened. But we don't remember, well, God answered this prayer, and God answered that prayer, and God did this for me, or God did that. We remember, my daughter was born that year. You know, we could go back, and you can get back into it, or God helped me get through this. God helped me get accepted into college that year. God helped this happen. You know, what was it that happened? Where was it at? Because you can't remember a lot of times. We just lose it. You know, we think that photos are a thing of it. You know, we go, I look back at this, and photos help. But really writing down, because you can write down guys, and it helps shut your mind down at night. You guys ever get in bed and you're just laying there and it's like going, it's racing. The mind it's like the PG&E meter, at least the old ones, where that thing is spinning 1,000,000 miles an hour outside. That's how it is sometimes when we get to sleep. Instead of being able to shut down because we put our mind at ease, going, God, you take care of this. God, you put this on your plate. Take it off of mine. What he's asked us to do so often. But we forget. We forget. And we forget. Instead of going, we remember. We remember what God has done and how he's delivered us and how he's answered prayers and how we know that he can answer the next prayer. We just want to forget. And we want to rely on ourselves. And that's where our mistakes come in. It's always within us that the mistakes happen, not with what God's will is for us. The next thing is we need to tell it to others. In the future, when your children ask, what do the stones mean? Tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever. Future generations will repeat the past mistakes without learning from other people's mistakes. from other people's experiences, they'll just continue to repeat it. It'll happen over and over and over again. It'll be like you're playing out whatever the new song is right now. It'll just be, the thrift store song, I think, is the one that they're playing the most right now. But, I mean, it'll be like that'll get played out just as bad. That's how our life will be. It'll just keep playing and playing and playing and playing, and you'll snap like that lady did and kill her husband. That's what, guys, we have to change what we do. We have to keep a record of it, and we have to talk to people about what we do. Because other people can learn from our mistakes and our experiences and what's going on. So if you're not in a group, you need to be in a group, because this is just the start. We get fed a little bit here, and then we go to our groups, and we get to talk about it, we get to feed, and then we get to absorb it, and it goes in, and we go, okay, man, that's what the groups are about. The groups are not about coming in and being like, hey, let's just have a session where we talk about miscellaneous stuff. It usually starts with a few guided questions, and then it dives into experience. This is what I went through. This is how I've been. This is where I'm going. And how can you help? Guys, that's what group is about. It's not just about socializing, even though that happens a lot during. We talk about talking, I'm in groups, or I'm groups here. I'm on Facebook. Everybody in here got Facebook? Everybody? No? No Facebook? That's good, because you probably have real friends. Yeah. So if you've got Facebook and you got like 5,000 friends, but you don't have any real friends in life, something is seriously wrong. Who are you telling your stories to? Here's my 472 character post. Who's caring about that? What do they, and do they even care? And are you taking photos to remember your past? Or are you taking photos like, look at this looks good. I'm going to show it to these 5,000 Facebook friends. Standing in the mirror, look at me and my new iPod, and here, check it out. Look at these kicks, these are awesome. That's where our life revolves. That's where we're at. We don't have real relationships anymore. We don't have real communication, and we don't tell each other about our experiences. Our lives are so busy. So busy. We go to work. You get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to drive an hour to get to work for 9 hours, to drive an hour home, to go chase your kids around from this place to that place to this place, to get home at 9 o'clock after you stopped at McDonald's for your third Happy Meal of the day, and then you get home and you watch one thing of the news and you're like, hey, I'm ready for bed. And she's already asleep. That's our lives. You guys are all nodding and agreeing, because that's what it is. That's where our lives have become. Our lives do not involve relationships. They involve being taxis. And they involve being, shuttle me here, shuttle me there, and no relationship. Because are you really going to tell your kids about what happened today? You're really going to tell your kids about how you feel? You need to have somebody that you can talk to. And not just your significant other, because your significant other is going to tell you most of the stuff you want to hear. I get off the stage all the time. How was it? It was good. Yeah, no, it sucked. But for me, that's how I am. I want the real thing. And we need to have people telling us that. We need to have people tell us, this is it. This is what's going on. This is how I see things. Don't do this because I did this. You have to be in a group. You have to be dealing life together. You can't just do it on your own. And you can't just be taking photos. Hey, here's my face. I'm half naked. Check it out. Look, I'm covering it. Doesn't work. The decisions you're making today affect your memories of tomorrow. Kind of not a good segue into that, but the decisions you make today will determine the memories for tomorrow. You'll look at it and you'll go back, and even with the photos, you'll look back and go, man, I looked way better back then, or I looked this, or I looked that. So those photos are good, but really, guys, you'll have to look at them. What direction is our life going right now? Where are we going, and who are we leaning on, and what are we remembering? Are we remembering how we got our job, or do we remember that God provided that job for us? Do we remember how we got this money, or how we got this, or how we got whatever it is, the relationships? These are things that God provides, not that you went and got for yourself. We have to remember that everything in this world and everything that we have was God's. And He's letting you use it right now. He lets you have it. He lets you have the relationships and the companionship, and he lets you have the job. He lets you, and he can take it away just as fast. We have to remember that God has given us so much, but we forget. We always remember the bad stuff. We always remember, God did this. And God, why did you do this? And God, why is my PG&E being turned off? Or God, why is this happening? Or God, why is this going on? Instead of, God, at least I have a house with PG&E that could be on. God, where at least I got this. Or God, at least this is being provided. Or I have this. Or whatever. We always look right at the negative of what it is instead of the positives that God provides for us. Those pictures, you should be taking pictures in your groups. You should be taking pictures like we did yesterday while we were out hanging out at the park. You know, we call it was serving the homeless, but it wasn't serving the homeless. The homeless really served us. They came in and they allowed us to have relationships with them. They allowed us to come in and sit down and go, hey, yeah, I'm out here, but I don't trust you. Because that's the reason why they stayed away. They go, we don't trust you. And they finally came over and they go, I'm going to let you in. Instead of us being allowed to be in. And so, you know, we look at it and we go, well, we had to go get them. We had to go over and talk to them over there. No. They finally let down a wall. Or they finally let down a brick, and they were, you know what, I'll let you in a little bit. They gave us something. They gave us their trust. They gave us this opportunity to earn a relationship with them. But for us, we look at it and go, I did that. I started that. God did that. God saw what was going on, and God said, you know what? They're doing the right thing. They're trying to do the right thing. Let's help them out. It wasn't us. We were just there. We're the hands and the feet. That's all we are. We're the hands and the feet of God. When we recognize that and we remember that God does everything through us, then all of a sudden everything starts to fall into place. And we wonder, well, that bad thing had to happen, or this had to happen. But we get to remember that. So write it down and talk about it. Write what happened. Talk about what happened. What are your stones? Back then, what are your stones? What are you leaving as markers? Maybe you don't think today, maybe you don't think you have any. Maybe you're looking at it and go, I don't have any stones right now. I don't have a story that I want to tell. Well, maybe today is the day that you start telling a new story. Maybe today is the day you start looking at it and going, I want to leave a different path. I want something to be able to look back on. And maybe today is the first stone. Maybe it's right now. You're putting it down, you're going, you know what? I want to start remembering. So I'm going to start a group. Or I'm going to start writing down. Or I'm going to start keeping a journal. Or maybe you want to start a relationship with God. Where is it at? Where are your stones and where do they lie? Maybe you don't have a relationship. Maybe you're like, I don't know this God thing yet. And I'm not, but I'm here. I'm testing the waters. You know, we're standing on the side of the pool. Is this thing cold? How cold is this thing? So we do. We dip our foot down. Well, maybe now's the time to place that first stone. Maybe now's the time to put that stone in place and you go, you know what? This is the day. Then we write it down. This is who I accepted. And this is where I started my journey. And this is where I've started to go. Or maybe it'll start tonight. I don't know. But we all have stones that we've placed. For us, I will tell you right now, is that we placed a stone 2 years ago. And the reason why I know it was exactly 2 years, because as soon as we thought of the name, Melissa and I, we went out and edgecommunitychurch.org. Is that available? So I know that on April 18th, 2 years ago, I know that is the day we selected the name for this church. Because I Googled it, I paid for it, and GoDaddy expired me last day, a couple days ago, and our website went down for 2 days. So I know that this is the day. And I look and I go, that's where our first stone is placed as this church. And we look at it and we started laying stones. And then we started a service 5 months later that looked a whole lot smaller than even what this looks. And then we started doing another service. And then we started doing another. And now all of a sudden we're meeting 4 times a week. And our first service, the reason why we do a second service is because we know you guys like to sleep in. But we have a, you got a different reason back there. But we know that we like to sleep in and we like to enjoy. And so guys, the reason why we do that, but if you would have been here for our first service, you would have said, wow, this is a different place. And I would say, and I'm not saying to come to our first, because you guys need to be right here, right now. This is the service you need to be in. This is where you need to be at. Because God brought you to this one. not to our first one. And I'll tell you right now is that this service here, I get to go through and I get to look and go, well, I didn't like that, so I'm going to change it a little bit. But this service here caters to you. That caters to what you have. But when we first started, we only had one service, and there was 10 of us. Hi. Now we reach 100 people every week via our live stream. Now we reach people in Kuwait. Now we reach people in Ireland. Now we reach people in the UK. We are a worldwide church that is reaching our community. But it starts small, just like the service is starting small, and it's going to get big, and it'll be a cat. You'll be walking in here one day, and you go, I remember when it was 15 people, or I remember when it was 40 people. And all of a sudden, you're going to be coming in here and be like, man, can you believe this is the same church? Can you believe this? You are part of that stepping stone. You are part of it. Put your stone in place. Put it there now. Do something. Build something. Become part of something. What is it that your story is going to talk about? Are you going to talk about how I lived life continuing the same way over and over and over again? Or are you going to talk about how I helped develop a church and how I helped serve my community or how I helped do this? What is it going to be? Because for me, I know where my stones are being laid. And I know that I'm building my pathway. And I know that my pathway is leading me in the right direction because I don't worry about me most of the time. I let God worry about me. And I go out and I help others. And I try and I just live on faith. And that's what we need to do as a group. We need to live on faith. And we need to put our hands out there and you know what, God? You guide my steps. And we'll leave the markers on the way. Let's pray. Father, I want to thank you so much for this time that we've come together and we've just got this chance to remember what you've already done. To remember what you've done in our lives, to remember what you've done in our communities, what you've done in our past, and what you've done through us, and what you're planning to do through us. Now, God, I know that some of us may not have a relationship with you yet. And God, I stop and I ask is that if you don't have a relationship with God, and if you want one, now is the time. All you have to do is go, Father, I believe that you are guiding my steps. I believe that you are leading me. I believe that you have something better for me. I believe that you sent your son to die for me. I believe that I get to spend eternity with you. God, I believe. And I want you to fill me. And I want you to be with me. And I want you to help me grow. And I want you to help me lay these stones. Keeping your head down. If you prayed that, please, can you put your hand up for me? Can you just let me know that you want to start something new? That you are looking for something different. That you are going, I want God to guide my footsteps. I want him to be in control. God, guide us. Help us leave the markers that you want us to leave. You can put your hands down. Father, thank you so much. Thank you so much for who just was welcomed into your family, and thank you so much for what you are going to do through them. God, thank you so much for the past and the history, and thank you so much for helping us leave a stone right here, right now. God, thank you. And all this we pray. In your Son, Jesus' name, amen.